Well, by the time this video drops, SummerSlam 22 will have already happened because for some reason they did it in July this year. But that doesn't mean we can't celebrate the old SummerSlams in its traditional month of August. Let's begin this month with SummerSlam 1994 from Monday, August 27th at the brand new United Center in Chicago, Illinois. This show was nominated by Matthew Panic and Joseph Gottschalk over on patreon.com/wrestlingwithwregret. And this show is brought to you by not just Domino's, because this year Domino's delivers SummerSlam, but also brought to you by the new generation. They are definitely hammering home this campaign about the new and the fresh, vibrant young athletes as opposed to the old stodgy stuff you see in WCW, which, coincidentally, we also happen to have on WWF not that long ago. I will never understand the marketing behind the new generation stuff they had during this time period where it's like, yeah, all that old stuff, all that stuff that we built for years and years and told you to cheer for and invest in, all that stuff, yeah, it's bullshit now. Forget about that, forget about our own ideas that we thought were cool at the time. Those are dumb. Here's the cool new ideas that we don't think are dumb quite yet, but will be soon. So you get invested in those guys. It's possible to build up the future of your business and the fresh young talent without burying the shit you just spent all these years building. Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler are on the call for the evening, and out comes Macho Man Randy Savage. In his final WWF pay-per-view appearance, he's reduced to being a master of ceremonies for the show. He shakes hands with the British Bulldog sitting at ringside. There's an early surprise for the show. He punks out Jerry Lawler on his way to the ring.
One is Jerry the King Lawler, and he ain't no king. And the other guy is Vince.
We go to our opening contest now as the Headshrinkers take on Bam Bigelow and IRS of the $1 Million Corporation. If you watched my recent video on jobber stables, you'll know that these guys definitely were busy during this time of the year in WWF. They were the big thing in the company this time. The major heel stable. Ted DiBiase, a very, very busy man. He's done a lot of programming in the build for this, and of course, his fingerprints are all over storylines in this show itself. This match was supposed to be for the Tag Team Championships. The Headshrinkers, as of one day before SummerSlam, were the champions going into this thing, and it was actually rumored that IRS and Bigelow would have won the belts for the corporation. But instead, what happens at a house show the day before at Indianapolis, Shawn Michaels and Diesel, who at the time was also the Intercontinental Champion, beat Samu and Fatu at that house show to become the champions. The reasons as to why, or at least the theories as to why, I'll get into a little bit from now. But yeah, no tag title match to start this show. Sorry, everyone. My favorite thing about this match is Captain Lou Albano there managing the Headshrinkers alongside Appa. And yes, folks, he goes Billy!
With his tag team combination. All right, Mr. Albano.
Bam and Fatu start things off. Bigelow with his big heel kick. He goes up top, but gets none of that headbutt. Making our way to IRS versus Samu now. Irwin dodging an attack, but he goes for one of his own and goes flying. Bam pulling down the top rope, and Fatu goes over the top on the outside. The babyface team's two managers do nothing as Bam beats up Fatu with the briefcase while the referee is not looking. A double down leads to a double hot tag. Samu getting a good run here. The Headshrinkers with the double team face plant. They hit the splash, but DiBiase gets on the apron. Bam with the briefcase again. Albano on the apron. He gets decked and does the best bump of the night, in my opinion. Alpha comes in and starts swinging. The match is thrown out. We get a triple headbutt to Bigelow after the bell. The brawl keeps going up the ramp as DiBiase has pieced out of this a long time ago. I give this match 1.5 stars out of 5. This match, especially near the end, was just full of emotional twists and turns here because the match itself was fine, and then the finish happens, which is kind of a downer. It brings the fans down a bit. Then they had that brawl after the bell. The fans woke up for that. And then Howard Finkel on the ring announcing says, oh, by the way, Bam and IRS won by DQ. Oh, you brought the fans back down again. You almost had it, guys. We get a Leslie Nielsen update. The star of Police Squad and the Naked Gun movies has been investigating the whereabouts of the Undertaker for weeks and weeks now, as has been seen in a series of, relatively clever vignettes. If you're a fan of like the wordplay and the puns of the Naked Gun movies, then I think you will appreciate these bits with Leslie Nielsen. I think they're pretty clever, especially the one where he's out in the pool. Oh, he's trying to catch rays because he knocks Ray Rougeau into the pool. Like, that was classic stuff. And we actually get more of that in this update that they film of Leslie Nielsen in the arena. We see him following the arrows to the Undertaker's trail, and he runs into George Kennedy, his Naked Gun co-star, who is also on the case. They're both literally on the case. They go off in opposite directions. Like I said, very similar vein to those vignettes, which, again, if you like that sort of humor, it's fine. Does it have a place on this product? I'm not sure, because obviously 94, it's goofier, it's more cartoonish, finish and that sort of thing. But man, I think the Leslie Nielsen stuff really did the Undertaker storyline a disservice. Because, you know, Undertaker and the Imposter, it's already cheesy enough as it is, got a big uphill battle. But then when you throw this Naked Gun stuff into it, it really makes it seem silly in the end. WWF Women's Championship match now as Alundra Blayze defends against Bull Nakano, aka let's give our champion some women to actually wrestle, because the women's division in this company is pretty darn meager at this moment. Bull Nakano, the first Japanese-born talent to challenge for a championship on WWF pay-per-view here. She's accompanied by Luna Vachon. These two had a match a couple of weeks ago on Raw. It went to a double countout. Jerry Lawler calls Nakano here a woman of size, which just sounds really shitty coming from him. The women get their customary flowers before the match, but Luna heals on the flowers. Ooh, that baddie. Nakano gets the advantage to start things off, violently throwing Alundra by her hair. The champ gets worked over big time as we get a USA chant. The powerbomb attempt is countered into a Hurricane Rana, and Blayze makes a comeback, but Bull stops it cold with a choke toss. We get a nice one-handed Boston crab. Don't think I've ever seen that done before. Then look at this badass submission the crowd definitely likes. Luna getting a cheap shot in. There's fighting for an arm bar here. Medusa makes her other comeback, wants to go for a powerbomb, and Lawler goes, she'll break your hair! Bull fights out, lays into Blayze with a clothesline, a powerbomb, goes to the top rope leg drop, but misses the bridging German suplex, the 3, and the champ retains. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5, and the only reason I'm not giving it 4 is because I wish it had just gone a little bit longer. 1 or 2 more minutes, and I think they could have got some more of that chemistry on display, shown some more of that physicality. I really liked this match. These two definitely brought it. The crowd was into it. Easily one of the best, if not the best women's match in this country, this part of the world, you're going to see for a while. Shawn Michaels and Diesel, the new tag team champs. Shawn says he and Diesel are 2 of the most happening cats in town. His words, not mine. Diesel talks about Razor Ramon and says that Ramon's never come through before. What makes him think that will change tonight? Shawn warning Walter Payton to stay out of their way. We go to that match now for the Intercontinental title as Diesel, Big Daddy Culata, accompanied by Shawn Michaels, takes on Razor Ramon, who's accompanied by the legendary Chicago Bears running back Walter Payton. And my goodness, the combined pop that Ramon and Payton get here from this partisan Chicago crowd, it is easily, if it's not the biggest reaction of the night, it's certainly top 2 or 3. We're teasing a bit of a tussle here between Sweetness and Shawn Michaels before the match begins. Diesel gets the first big shots in on the bad guy. Ramon gets some flurries in, but Diesel keeps cutting him off. Sleeper hold applied. Razor fights out, but gets hurled over the top rope. That's an instant DQ in Bill Watts country. Shawn undoes the turnbuckle pad as the ref's distracted. HBK tries to be sneaky. Payton cuts him off at first, but as the ref breaks it up, Shawn decks Razor anyway. Brilliant. The shot here of Shawn and Diesel both getting pissed when Razor avoids a 10 count just kills me. More cheating by Shawn as Dave Hebner remains the most tunnel-visioned referee of all time. I mean, it is obscene how much heat Razor is getting throughout the course of this match. It is a cartoonish amount of bullshit and chicanery that happens in and out of the ring throughout this thing. The exposed turnbuckle backfires on Diesel, and that gives Razor Ramon the opening for his comeback. He slips out of the ring, gives Diesel the ring post-itis, 10 points if you get that reference. Big old bulldog, but a kick out. Walter Payton's got this golden opportunity here for a cheap shot on Diesel, but he fails. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder if having Payton being involved was kind of a miscue with this show, because I feel if you're going to have like a local celebrity or like a local like Chicago Bear name, like accompany the bad guy to the ring, then get like a lovable rule breaker. Walter finally gets involved as a tug of war with the belt. Shawn and Diesel try to double team, but the sweet chin music does not hit the right person. Payton finally getting his hands on Shawn. Razor crawls over to make the cover. Razor wins as the new Intercontinental Champion. Diesel's hot at Shawn for what happened as Razor celebrates with Payton and his son in the ring. I'm going to give this one 4 stars out of 5. Now hear me out on this one. There was so much bullshit in this thing. This match was overbooked as hell, and it really started to grate on me by the end. And like I was saying, I was starting to get sick of Walter Payton just getting repeatedly punked out by Shawn Michaels and all that chicanery and stuff. But when the timing was right, God, they got me, because like that turnaround when Payton finally gets involved, finally gets physical with Shawn, like that did it for me. And the story they told here I thought was great and all that stuff. So I think the pacifism pays off here. But yeah, overall, I think it was a great matchup. Let's hear what the Macho Man's got to say about all this.
Wow, did you realize that Shawn and Diesel are tag champs and now one's mad at the other? What a dilemma! Back to you.
By the way, in my research for this, the reason that HBK and Diesel are the tag champs at this point is because they decided they wanted to keep some belt on Diesel after he lost the Intercontinental Championship to keep he and Shawn hot. Was it the company directive, or was that something that the Clique offered up as a solution, to backstage and stuff? Bam Bigelow was known for saying a lot of unsavory things about the Clique in his interviews he had post WWF life, and you got to believe that when the tag belts were taken away from them when he and IRS were scheduled to win them on this pay-per-view, that definitely has to be a log in the fire. The Toddster, Todd Pettengill, standing between Made in the USA Lex Luger and the Native American superstar Tatanka. First, let's go to these poll results from the hotline. Did Lex Luger sell out? 54% said yes, 46% said no. What is this all about here? Well, for weeks and weeks, Tatanka Buffalo has been accusing his friend Lex Luger of selling out to the $1 Million Man and the $1 Million Corporation. Ooh, in this world, selling out is the worst thing you can possibly do. It is tantamount to just religious sacrilege, or something that's just really, really bad, basically. Selling out and joining the $1 Million Man, ooh, that's naughty. So Lex is accused of doing it. For weeks and weeks he's saying no, but Tatanka has all this evidence, and now in 3 minutes flat he is going to give you every single piece of evidence that he has against Lex Luger to his theory that Luger did sell out. Luger says DiBiase and Tatanka can believe whatever they want, it's a free country, but that he had never considered selling out. And so the reason we're having this match here is basically Tatanka is just so mad at Lex for selling out. Ooh, I gotta fight you. That's basically it here. And so once again, selling out, it's important to remember here, selling out, worst thing you can possibly do. Lex Luger has been denying that he has sold out, but he's not very convincing. And I don't know, it's like, it adds a level of intrigue and mystery. Oh, did he really sell out? Or is he hiding it? Or is he just a really shit actor? We go now to that grudge match as Lex Luger battles Tatanka Buffalo. Split reaction for Luger at first, then it kind of just degenerates into more boos as the thing goes on. What's Tatanka's number one piece of offense here? Shouting, "You sold out! You sold out! You're a sellout! Selling out! Solely sold out! Lex and Teddy sitting in a tree! SELLING out!" The action ramps up early on, good back and forth, has Luger on top for a bit, but there's that mixed reaction from the crowd again. We'll begin that all match. Joy! Tatanka takes over, hits the top rope flying chop, we get a 2 count, up top again, but he misses the attack. As Lex makes his comeback, Ted DiBiase makes his way to ringside with a red, white, and blue bag, ooh, probably full of money. Luger sees DiBiase and gets distracted, telling him he doesn't want the money. Tatanka rolling Lex up and wins. After the bell, Lex is pissed, gets mad at DiBiase, he kicks the money out of his hands, but then Tatanka jumps Luger and beats him up good. It was he who sold out all along, and Jerry Lawler saying it's in his nature. Oof. More beatdown. Tatanka slapping on the $1 Million Dream, knocking him out and stuffing the money down his throat. I give it 2 stars out of 5. I thought the match itself was okay, and the twist at the end after the bell was kind of the exclamation point of the thing. It was a pretty abrupt match. It didn't get much of a chance to go into a new gear, but it's face versus face, and there's not really an opportunity to have get the heel heat and really tell the story and get the drama. It's not really there. So the match itself, though, fine for what it was. Tatanka's verbiage and just his constant shouting of "you sold out, sell out," that was just, it got annoying, but I guess if the goal is to be annoyed by him, it makes the heel turn all the more satisfying. So yeah, Tatanka joins the $1 Million Corporation now. Hooray for selling out. Apparently, selling out's the best. Don't read too much into the Native Americans selling out for the highest dollar, but wait, they actually go right to that point because we go to Gorilla Monsoon on the bat phone apparently. I'm sorry, it's the hotline room, and he calls him that native turncoat Tatanka. "You are a disgrace to all Native Americans." Whoa! My favorite part about this, though, is at the end where Monsoon says, "Oh, Chief J Strongbow just pacing up and down the room. He's hot. He's mad right now. Oh, heaven forbid you upset Italian American Chief J Strongbow." It's country music versus rap, tale as old as time, as Double J, Jeff Jarrett, takes on the big man Mabel from Men on a Mission. This was apparently meant to be Jarrett versus Doink, and certainly the build leading up to this for a while was kind of indicating as such, but for whatever reason, 2 or 3 weeks out, they decided to just pivot to Mabel, so there we go. By the way, Jeff Jarrett, king of the bag. StarCast has come and gone as of the time this video is going to air, but man, what a year this man has had. His podcast is killing it. He had a cup of coffee in GCW, got everyone talking about him again. He became a producer and EVP in WWE, got involved with StarCast and Flair's last match. How does he keep doing it? It truly is his world. Jarrett selling the big size differential, actually able to leapfrog the big man but still gets smushed. Oscar getting in Jarrett's space and he pays for it, gets shoved and goes flying into the steps. That's a bit extra. Jarrett actually connects with the flying nothing, which is impressive. Goes for more axe handles, he can't bring him down. Tries to go for a sleeper, gets put in the corner a couple times. Spinning heel kick by the big man, and then you see Abe Knuckleball Schwartz picketing in the crowd. He's on strike. Okay, might as well talk about it here, I guess. So a week or two before the show, Major League Baseball went on strike, and so they decided to take the Brooklyn Brawler, Steve Lombardi, put him in baseball fury makeup, and have him be this representation of Major League Baseball, the players, and the whole thing is like, the reason we're striking is because you fans suck so bad. That's why we do it, and we like money. Again, money is terrible, money is the root of all evil, and bad guys hate fans. That's pretty much why his whole justification of existing is there. I hate it. It's so stupid. Jarrett and Oscar pantomime for a good while till Mabel finally shows up. Oscar slaps Jarrett, but no DQ apparently. Then Mabel just crushes Jarrett in the turnbuckle post. Jesus, kill the guy, why don't you? Big sunset flip attempt. Mabel misses the big sit. Jarrett rolls him up to win. Mabel's pissed and chases Jarrett up the ramp. I give it 2 stars out of 5. Give Jarrett all the credit in the world for making Mabel look like $1 million throughout this thing. The way he was practically being deflected off him at some point in this match were pretty entertaining. I thought the stuff with he and Oscar on the outside, that kind of irritated me. Like when the shtick goes on too long and it kind of exposes the work, like that stuff just really grinds my gears. And so there was a bit of that kind of like slowed things down for me. Here come Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy, the super sleuths. Oh, the Undertaker's right behind you guys. Psych, he's not there. Okay, thanks for coming, guys. In a match that, in all seriousness, is the main event, let's just call it like we see it, is a steel cage match for the WWF Championship. Brother versus brother as the Hitman Bret Hart takes on the King of Hearts, Owen Hart. This is a continuation of the amazing feud between these two that began the previous year's Survivor Series. They had their classic bout at WrestleMania 10. Owen won that match, but Bret did become the champion in his own match with Yokozuna later in the night. And then you've got King of the Ring a few months later. Owen Hart wins that tournament with help from Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And now he's calling his shot. Owen challenging Bret to another match, this time for the title and in the cage. The rest of the Hart family is so pissed at Owen and Jim for breaking up the family harmony, but they give not a fig. Before the matches, they're still building the cage. We get a lot of time killing here as Vince and Lawler have a chat with the whole Hart family sitting at ringside. Helen's upset, Stu seems pretty ambivalent. Lawler walks over to the British Bulldog, who is now back in the Federation after his release in '92, soon after his huge win at SummerSlam, then against Bret. Lawler's like, would you want to get in there and wrestle Bret right now? And Davey's like, not really. Then Jimmy Jam Neidhart sitting in the back with his glasses painted black. The man is having a real hard time getting a sentence out as the rest of the Harts yell at him for ruining the family.
You know, it's all on the family, but I think everyone's going to really see who the best Hart is of all, who the best is. Everyone here is going to see that Owen Hart is going to be the next world heavyweight champion.
Backstage with Bret, he also blames Neidhart for planting the seeds of jealousy in Owen and starting this whole thing. He talks about a lot of things, if we're being honest here. You get the sense that he is told to stretch for time as they are building the cage, because, man, he's a bit ramblomatic in this promo.
This World Wrestling Federation Championship belt isn't going anywhere. Jealousy is a horrible thing. It's an ugly thing that's, Neidhart. And there's going to be one winner and one loser. And I'm not going to lose this thing, Owen.
The match finally begins. Owen's got guns blazing. Bret's able to come back, hits a DDT on Owen. And of course, the entire story of this match is both men just want to get the hell out of the cage as fast as they can. They don't really want to fight each other, but they'll do it if they have to. But man, the whole story here is escape, escape, escape. They just keep fighting each other to try and escape. So many cutoffs here. At one point, they're leaping over each other trying to get to the door. Up in the corner, Bret taking a tumble down. Owen follows up with a drop kick. He leaps past Bret to climb the cage and is almost out, but caught at the last second. A lot of last second catches in this matchup here. Some great epic struggling up on the ropes on the cage walls. Bret with some kicks. Owen catches the leg and yoinks him down. A painful looking fall on the ropes. Owen is so close to getting out, but Bret drags him back in. Bret goes for the elbow, but misses. Owen at one point grabbing Bret off the wall onto his shoulders. Kind of an angle slam back in the ring. Bret gets both legs over the cage wall. The fans erupt for it, but Owen grabs him by the hair, brings him back in. Moments later, Owen pushing Bret off of him, but but falls off the ropes after him, and both are down. Fighting in the door area, getting scrappy. There's a slingshot into the cage wall. More close calls, more back and forth, slugging it out on the ropes. Bret kicking Owen off. A giant superplex out of the corner. Owen gets a sharpshooter locked in, but Bret is able to reverse it, allowing Bret to jump down, win, and retain. Jim and Owen bring Bret back into the cage. Jim locks it shut, and the Hart Boys just sit there and let him fucking do it. The family members try climbing back in, but Owen and Jim knock them off repeatedly. Davey Boy finally breaks through and gets inside just in time for them baddies to flee. This match is excellent. I think it's an instant classic. The only thing I have against it is I think that they have a few too many like close calls, that kind of thing. They go to the well with that, and it looks a bit too samey, a little too much. But overall, fantastic match. A very simple story, but told very well. Everything that Owen and Bret did to each other looked real. It looked legitimate. I have yet to see a cage match before or since this one that really captures the urgency and the need to escape like Bret and Owen have here. I mean, they turn that very simple concept, very simple story, practically into an art form. It's a beautiful match. It's aggressive, it's physical, but it's also beautiful in a way. They tell that story just perfectly. So yeah, it's just an awesome match. It's easily one of the best cage matches WWE's ever put on. I loved it. Time now for the real main event as The Undertaker takes on The Undertaker. How could there be two Undertakers? Let's tell you, Todd. Back in January at the Royal Rumble, The Undertaker was beaten in a casket match against Yokozuna and a whole ass mob of people. The fans then got this coffin cam that showed Taker ascend to heaven, the darkness, who knows. Many months later, Ted DiBiase announced that he had brought The Undertaker back into the fold, and sure enough, here's a big tall guy with long hair and a hat. That's gotta be him, obviously. Brian Lee, Mr. We've Got The Undertaker at Home. He was brought up from Smoky Mountain Wrestling to be the stand-in for The Undertaker here. Close but no cigar. You know, the commentary tried, but eagle-eye observers can see this is not the real guy. I've said it before and I'll say it again, they really tested the limits of the fans' patience with this one, the way the announcers would earnestly believe this was the actual Undertaker. But Paul Bear's onto the ruse. He knows that guy's the fake, and he says he's going to bring his version of the Undertaker back at SummerSlam. Paul comes out here, he brings some druids who are pushing a casket to the ring. They open it, but it's not the Undertaker in there. Bear presents the Mega Urn and emits this powerful light. It's the spirit of The Undertaker, everybody! Clap your hands if you believe in the dead man! Sure enough, The Undertaker is back in the flesh, and wow, it's really obvious now they are not at all alike, are they? I will say I did like the moment as the intro for the real Undertaker is happening, where both DiBiase and Bear, they get their man ready, they take their coat off, they remove the tie, they take the hat. I like that little ritual there, the parallels there. I got a nice smile out of that. I feel like I'm watching two guys both playing as The Undertaker in WrestleMania, the arcade game, and neither man really knowing the controls that well. The imposter stalking Bear on the outside, but he gets caught. Fighting on the outside, the real one is dropped neck first on the rope. The fans are very, very quiet for this. The fake Taker goes for unaccredited school, but he gets yoinked off the rope. Taker hits his own current school. Slow and plodding. Not a huge surprise considering one of these guys by himself is slow and plodding. Now we have two of them. Fake Taker gets frustrated, but he's the first to hit the choke slam. Lee giving an obvious Iggy, but Taker must have missed his cue. Taker sits up, looks just like shit now. Faker hits the tombstone. We do the sit-up again. The Faker goes for it again, but it's reversed. The fans are still very much asleep. The real Taker hits another one, then another one, the slowest count of the night, and it's finally over. I'm going to give this one 0 stars out of 5. This is quite possibly, not even possibly, it is the worst SummerSlam main event of all time. Nothing can come close to this, right? Here's the first problem it had. The fact that Bret and Owen Hart took all the remaining oxygen from the building when they and the cage left for the evening, because there was no energy left in that crowd for these two Undertakers. And even if there was energy left in this crowd, they did not deserve any of it because the match was so freaking bad. And of course, we never got an explanation as to who this Faker was, where DiBiase found him, why Ted was doing it at all, or thought he could get away with it, just none of that. After all this, it was just all over with. I guess the pinfall win is better than what we could have got because there was apparently this alternate ending pitched where instead of a pinfall, it was just going to be some magical special effects bullshit where the Undertakers would merge and then Mark Calloway would be the last Undertaker standing and that would be it. So you know what? I would have been willing to see it play out in rehearsal at least.
The case is closed.
You've solved the mystery.
The case is closed.
My grade for SummerSlam 1994 is a B-. It's actually not that bad of a show overall. I mean, the main event really sucks, and like there's no redeeming that. But I think the rest of the show, at the very worst, the matches were decent, like Jarrett and Mabel, for example, and like the Headshrinkers and versus IRS and Bigelow. And of course, you know, the cage match was spectacular. The IC title match was, I think, overbooked as hell, but still fun to watch. And then the women's match was also really good too. So there are some things worth watching here on this SummerSlam. The quality of this company is not quite gone in the shitter yet. That's for next year, but until then, SummerSlam 94, on the whole, it's a pretty darn good show, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should, but then stop after the cage match. Well, next time here on the Classic Review, in 2 weeks' time, we go back to SummerSlam, and we go a little bit further along in the timeline, where we see what Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker are all up to these days. It's Heart and Soul, SummerSlam 1997. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.